Hey everyone, thanks for joining me to play games. My name is Lance, and today I'm going to teach you how to play Jetpack Joyride. This is a newer game by Lucky Duck Games and Half Brick. It is a 1 to 4 player game that takes roughly 20 to 40 minutes to play, and is a competitive game where players are going to be racing through the level, trying to collect as many points as they can. They're going to do this 3 times, and at the end of the game, the player that has the most points will be the overall winner. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to play, starting with components, setup, player turns, and endgame scoring and conditions. As always, if you find these videos helpful, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button, subscribe to my channel. It's one of the easiest ways you can help support channels like mine so we can continue to grow and produce content. So let's go ahead and head to the table, and I'll teach you guys how to play. The first deck of cards are the mission cards, and each one of these is going to list mission at the top and will have some parameters that the players must meet in order to get the number of stars that are listed on the bottom of that mission. Some cards also have this little icon here, which means that this card will not be used if you're playing a solo game, so you can remove it from the deck before shuffling up. The one other thing I want to go over with missions is some of them will list a near miss, and what that means is that you must place a tile track orthogonally adjacent to that target or object that you're trying to near miss. So in this example, I'm trying to near miss the scientist, so if I place this tile here, then I will near miss the scientist on his front and top sides. The second deck of cards are the gadgets, and each one of these will have the name of the gadget at the top, an image, and then the number of stars or ability that gadget will grant the player when acquiring it. And some gadgets also have the little icon down in the corner, which means that you won't use those in solo games. There's also 2 different color gadgets, blue and gold, with the gold gadgets meaning that they are a little easier to use or better to use for beginning players. And each gadget is covered in more detail in the back of the rulebook if you're confused about its abilities. The lab sector cards are going to have a number of different features on them. First, in the upper left-hand corner is going to be a number, and you'll find numbers 1 to 4 on those, with some of them being hard tiles, which will have the biohazard symbol next to them, and you'll find that on some of the tiles for number 1s and number 4s. Each of the lab sector cards is going to be double-sided, and it's going to have a number of different obstacles on it, including missiles, zappers, and lasers, and you can never place a track tile on any of these different obstacles. You're also going to find coins on each of the cards, and you can place the track tiles on those, and you'll get points for those at the end of the round. And each of the cards is going to have a little scientist, and with some of the missions, there's going to be requirements for you placing or near missing scientists, and so that's what you're going to be looking for on each card. There's a set of 10 track tiles for each one of the 5 different shapes included in the game, and depending upon the number of players that is playing, you'll remove some of these track tiles before starting your game, and I'll go into this more during setup. For setup, the first thing you want to do is place out all of the track tiles in the middle of the table, and then depending upon the number of players, you're going to randomly take a number of those away. So in a 3-player game, you're going to remove 12 of these tiles, and in a 2-player game, you'll remove about 25 of these tiles and return those to the box. And you can do this in any manner you want. If you find it easier to put all the tiles on the top of the lid, shake them up and then have somebody randomly draw them, or if you have a bag you can place them in and draw them from there, you can do that as well. I'm going to play a 2-player game, so I put 25 tiles out that I already took care of. Then after that, then you can shuffle up your missions deck and place that out to the side. And then for each round, you're going to reveal the top 3 missions, and that'll be the missions the players are going to be trying to achieve. On the other side, you're going to want to place your gadgets and go ahead and shuffle that deck up as well. Finally, go ahead and grab the lab sector cards and separate them into their different numbers. With the hard cards, you can include those with some of the players or all the players if you're looking for a more challenging game, or if you have players of different experience levels. For my game, I'm not going to include these, so I'll go ahead and return these to the box, and then separate the other cards into their 4 numbers. Once I have that, then I'll shuffle up each one of them and deal one out randomly to each player. Either the front or back side, it doesn't matter, it just needs to be random. Once a player gets a card, they're going to place it in front of them, and these cards will be placed in sequential order from 1 to 4 so that they make one entire scene, and each card's ends will blend with the next if you have this set up correctly. Once each player has their 4 cards, any remaining cards can be returned to the box as you won't use those for this game, and then you're ready to begin the game. In Jetpack Joyride, players are racing through their stages simultaneously trying to collect coins, and this is going to take place over 3 rounds, and each round is broken into 3 phases. Run, score, and clean up. At the end of the 3rd round, the player that has the most points will be the winner of the game. The first phase in each round is the run phase, and this phase is going to start by having either the youngest player or the player of your choice shout run. At that point, all the players are going to simultaneously be placing tiles in their lab to try to escape in a continuous line. They're also trying to meet as many mission conditions as they can to maximize the amount of points. And there's a number of different rules with this that I'm going to go into more detail on. There's one other important thing I want to cover before moving into placement. So each one of the tiles has two ends, and the last square on each of those ends is considered the terminal square. When placing tiles next to each other, you must connect the terminal squares orthogonally so that a flat edge touches the flat edge of another tile. So for example, if I wanted to line these tiles up, I must place them where the terminal ends are lined up orthogonally, and you can do this in any manner you want to, so that they could be like this, they could be like that. You can have them like this. You just cannot have them diagonally where only the corners are touching. This would not be allowed. And with that, so I could have it something like that as well, just as long as one terminal end touches another terminal end, and that continues along all of the tiles you're placing. Once a player has selected their first track tile from the center pile, they're going to place this starting their run, and they must place it where at least one square sticks out of the leftmost edge of their starting sector, and then from there they can have any number of squares outside of that, and they're going to place it anywhere along that track to start their run. Now there are a couple important placement rules with this. You can never place a track tile on an obstacle, and which are the missiles, zappers, and lasers. You can place it so that it covers up coins, as you're going to collect coins throughout your run, and you're going to get points for those at the end of each round. There's a couple other important rules with this. So when placing, you can never place a tile so that it would go outside of the top or bottom edges of the card. You can never overlap with another tile, so I could not place them like this where the ends overlap. And again, with that terminal end, you must connect it orthogonally, so I can do this, but I could not do this, where they're only touching by the corners. So now let me show you a couple of examples of this. So let's go ahead and say that we place the first tile here, and then I'll go ahead and draw this tile here and place it like that. And then the next tile I'll draw is this one here. So again, it has to touch on one of the terminal ends. So I can do something like this, where it touches there, or I could go down here and do that if I wanted to. Then I could do this with that one, and then I could leave that going this way like that. So with this, you're going to be working your way as fast as you can, again, one tile at a time. If you have to backtrack, so say I placed this tile and I couldn't do anything else with any of the other tiles that were available, I can choose to backtrack. In order to do that, I will remove the tile and add it back to the center pile. I can do this with each tile, adding it back to the center pile, but I have to start on the last tile that I placed and continue working my way over. When I choose to stop, then I can draw a new tile and place it in a different way, or if I need to rearrange a tile that I already placed. So for example, if it didn't work like this, but instead I decided to do this, I could do that and then again draw a new tile from the center pile and continue my route. This is going to continue with the players placing their tiles as fast as they can, one by one, trying to collect as many coins and meet as many missions as they're able to until one of three different conditions is met. And when one of these conditions is met, the phase immediately ends, so no player is allowed to place a tile even if they have one in their hand at that time. The first way the run phase is going to end is if a player places a track tile along their path with at least one square outside of the rightmost edge of their fourth lab sector, and they yell, "I have escaped." The second way is if all the players yell pass because they cannot legally place any of the track tiles that are left in the middle in their zone, or they choose not to place any more. The third and final way is if the middle pile is completely empty of track tiles. When any one of these conditions is met, the phase immediately ends and the players will move into the score phase. The second phase in a round is the scoring phase, and this is going to have a number of different steps. The first step is for each player to go through their 4 sectors and count up the number of coins that they've covered up with their trail tiles. So with player 1, he covered up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So he'll record that on the score pad. Then each player is going to go through all the missions and determine if they've met the conditions for those missions, and then they'll receive a number of stars based on that mission. Each player can complete each mission only once, even if they've met the requirements of that mission multiple times within their sector, and each player is able to complete each mission. So with the first one, it says that we're going to collect 5 coins in a sector. So player 1 was able to accomplish this in sector 3 as he covered up all 5 coins, so he'll receive 3 points. Player 2 was not able to get this. They were close with the first sector. He covered up 4 of them, but he didn't quite get the ones that he needed. The second mission is near miss an obstacle from all four sides. So you have to cover all four sides of an obstacle. Player 1 was not able to accomplish this, so he will not receive the stars, but player 2 did with that very first missile. He has that completely covered. Then the last mission is to high five or near miss 3 scientists. So player 1 was able to do that as he has near missed all 3 scientists on the board, so he's going to get 4 for that. So he'll have a total of 7 points in stars. The third step is to check for the gadgets. And in the later rounds, players are going to have gadgets, and if any gadgets gives a player points, they'll total those up and add those as well. The final thing is this is a racing game, so players are going to be speeding through this as fast as they can, and players can make mistakes. So if a player on accident covered up an obstacle, then they're going to lose 3 points per obstacle that they covered up. So neither one of our players had any problems with that during this round, so neither player is going to lose points. Finally, each player will total up their points for the round, so our player here has 22, and our second player only had 14, as that player didn't do quite as well as the first player. Once the players are done scoring, then each player is going to get a gadget, so you'll reveal a number of gadgets based on the number of players. And then the player that has the lowest points for that round will get to choose one of those gadgets to add to his side. So with these gadgets, player 2 is going to get to choose first, so he's going to go ahead and take the gravity belt. And so for the next couple rounds, he'll get points based on the conditions of that if he's able to meet it. And then player 1 has the lucky last. And the final phase in each round is the cleanup phase. And there's a couple of steps with this. First, all the players are going to clear off all of their track tiles from their mats and return them to the center pile. Once the players are done with that, then the missions are going to be discarded and new missions will be revealed. And then each player is going to gather up their lab sector tiles and pass them to the player on their left. The one exception to this is in the second round, if you're playing with 2 players, instead of passing them again back to the other player that had them to begin with, you'll simply flip those tiles over for the third and final round. Once the players have set up their new sectors, then we're ready to move into round 2, where we'll start this all over again. The players are going to do this for 3 rounds, and at the end of the third round, the player that has the highest total points is going to be the overall winner of the game. Well, I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you have any questions or comments, leave those in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. If you found the video helpful, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to my channel, as it really does make a big difference, helps me to continue to grow and produce these videos. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my videos and leave me feedback on them. I do really appreciate it, and I take into account everything you guys say to make the best possible videos. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.